door, we need to talk about what's going on with Matthew Perry. Now, if you guys don't know, yesterday I did a video where people were saying there's a lot of mysterious circumstances under his death. TMZ, for some reason, from the beginning, has been pushing this narrative that he passed away from an apparent drown. Can I say it? DRO. You know what it is, right? I don't want to get demonetized or this video struck, but they've been pushing this narrative. They've even been pushing a narrative. It wasn't this, it was that. And this narrative has taken off. Well, guess what? The preliminary autopsy has come back. And everything TMZ told us was wrong. I would go as far as to say it just was a lie, but I'm saying right now it was wrong. And even more circumstances are coming out and making everybody ask what exactly happened to Matthew. Okay. Now, if you guys don't know, he has struggled with addiction for his whole life. He wrote a book and said that he's given over $6 million for rehab. He actually opened a home to help others struggling with addiction. And he wanted to actually start a foundation that did this, okay? However, even though he's gone through bouts of in and out of recovery, it seems like this time he actually was recovered. So much so that he was even playing pickleball 2 hours before his passing. You guys, he was posting weird stuff on his Instagram that everybody was like, what is he trying to say? Forget all that, because that is speculation. But what we have now is actual, real, verifiable proof. Let's get into this, okay? Let's look at the update, okay? His body was not, okay, so his body was reportedly found in a hot tub in his home, prompting suspicion of a drowning. Now, it wasn't just suspicion, because every report that's coming out of TMZ and that's been picked up worldwide has been quoting what TMZ said. And TMZ has stood 10 toes down and doubled down that no, it was an apparent drowning. It was apparent drowning. It wasn't. New report reveals that when first responders arrived, he was not waterlogged, casting doubt on what the cause of passing could be. If you guys are wondering what waterlogged is, let's take a quick foray, because I want to explain this just in case you guys don't know. There's 4 types of dreaming. Can we call that? There's 4 types of dreaming, okay? There's the wet dreaming. I'm speaking in code. This is the most common form of dreaming, where water enters the lungs and impairs the person's ability to take in air. Wet dreaming typically occurs when a person is submerged in water and cannot reach the surface of the air. Now, this is the most typical form. A lot of people said that can't be possible because it's a jacuzzi. Who dreams in a jacuzzi? But there's a second type, dry dreaming. Dry dreaming is when the person's airways closes up due to a spasm, preventing water from entering the lungs. However, the lack of oxygen still leads to unconsciousness and eventually passing away. Dry dreaming can occur even after a person has been rescued from the water, as the airways can close up several hours after the initial incident. Now, get this. If it was a dry dreaming or a wet dreaming, you would be able to find this in an autopsy. However, the autopsy did not find it. No, exactly. F what TMZ is saying. The autopsy did not find this. Now, there is 2 other types. Let me just go over this and then we'll get back into the reports. Secondary drowning. Dreaming. This type of dreaming occurs when a small amount of water enters the lungs, causing inflammation and a buildup of fluid. Now, when I first read this, I'm like, maybe? Over time, this fluid buildup can impair the person's ability to breathe and lead to a dreaming. Secondary dreaming can happen hours or even days after the initial water exposure. Silent dreaming. The silent dreaming refers to cases where a person dreams without exhibiting the typical signs of struggle or distress. In many instances, the person may appear to be swimming normally before slipping under the water's surface. Silent dreaming often occurs in young people that are very, very young. who have not developed strong swimming skills, or individuals who experience a sudden medical issue while in the water. That could be it too, okay? But let's look at what the, not TMZ, and not the people that repeated what TMZ said, but let's look at what the actual medical experts say. Okay. Matthew was alone at home after playing a 2-hour game of pickleball, which after that, he sent his assistant on an errand. Upon getting back, that errand didn't take more than 20 minutes. They found Matthew unresponsive and proceeded to call 911. Mind you, they are now saying that he wasn't found in the jacuzzi. At the scene, there were no, the police are verifying this, there were no illicit substances around, only prescription pills. However, Matthew did say that he struggled with a love of Vicodin and other stuff, right? The official cause of death, even after the autopsy, is still being investigated. According to law enforcement sources, Matthew, which was reportedly found by the hot tub, hadn't been in the water for an extended period of time. When first responders arrived at Matthew's Pacific Palisades residence, he was not waterlogged, casting suspicion on his cause of death. Now, let's also not forget that TMZ yesterday told us that they are looking at this as an apparent. They saw no evidence of foul play, and they were deeming it an apparent draining. We now know that was all BS. That was all cap. And there is actually something that seems really, really wrong. Now, maybe I am being an alarmist. Maybe this can be easily explained, but I haven't seen anybody explain it yet. Now, at the time of his passing, Matthew was alone at home after allegedly playing pickleball. Okay. On getting home, it is unconfirmed whether the caller who called 911 was Matthew's personal assistant or close friend, Brianna Brancato, who the actor mentioned in his memory, Friends, Lovers, and Big Troubles Things last year. In this deeply personal memoir, he openly shared his feelings of loneliness and his deep desire for children. Okay? He referred to Bronco under the pseudonym Erin without ever naming her. He revealed that she was his best friend and actually saved his life, particularly during the recovery from a life-threatening colon issue. However, he emphasized that their bond was there was never any hanky-panky going on. You guys, we can get back to that, but let me just get into this other stuff because it's tripping me out, and I feel like we definitely need to address this. Okay? Now, he wasn't in the water long. The timing, now they're saying the timing adds to the tragedy, but let's also not forget that the autopsy has come back inconclusive. Let's get into that actually. Okay, here's the weird thing about the autopsy, right? Whenever there's a cause of passing, they can tell what it is, right? If there's water in the lungs, clearly, they can tell what exactly caused it, even if it was caused by multiple factors. And if it was caused by multiple factors, that's fine, but they would still find the initial thing. Now, on Sunday, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed to People magazine that an autopsy has been completed and results are pending a toxicology report, which can take weeks to come. Why is that? Because the results came back inconclusive. They cannot conclude how or why he passed away. In the history of humanity, if somebody had a draining, an autopsy would never come back inconclusive, ever. The initial cause of death, which they thought was a draining, they are now saying that that's not the cause, and they need to conduct additional tests to actually focus in on this. This is really big, you guys. It is groundbreaking. The status of the cause of passing currently is listed as deferred, since it's pending additional investigation. Now, LAPD Robbery Homicide Division is handling Matthew's investigation, and foul play is not suspected at this time. However, that doesn't mean foul play wasn't involved. It doesn't mean there's something funny going on. They declined to comment on what may or may not have been recovered on the scene, and the investigation is ongoing. We do know that TMZ's reports of there being a tragic drowning, it can't be true, because the autopsy found no evidence or inconclusive evidence that he actually passed away from a drowning, and he wasn't even in the water for long enough, according for a drowning to happen. You guys, listen, they also said that he was deceased prior to the first responders' arrival. The timeline's not adding up. There's too many things going wrong. Listen, here's a weird thing. They said the adult male patient was passed prior to first response arrival. The patient was found by a bystander who had repositioned the victim where, right, the head was outside of water. Firefighters pulled that person out of the jacuzzi and did a quick medical assessment to find him gone. Again, why didn't the assistant actually pull him out of the water? Was it too heavy? What's the thing? I don't understand. Why wouldn't you get in the water? If you saw someone, why wouldn't you get in the water and try to pull them out, or stay in the water with them to keep them above afloat? If you could literally reposition somebody so that their head is out of the water, then how did they even get below the water? But more importantly, why was there no water log in that person? And why is the cause inconclusive? Again, tell me how. I want this to make sense. I want this just to be a tragedy. But the more and more and more it goes, the more it's just not making sense. This just isn't making sense. We can't rely on TMZ like that. They've been wrong 11 times about this. For now on, I'm listening to the coroner. I'm listening to what the detective is. And the coroner says something's up. The coroner says they cannot determine how he passed away. And now they're going to do toxicology reports. But if that's the case, how did they even get the idea that there was a drowning? Because why would you need to reposition a head if that's not? You see what I'm saying? Anyway, you guys, listen, I'm going to follow this closely. Something is definitely amok. But you know what? There's so many eyes on this story. This has to get out. Just don't forget that he was also saying his name was Batman. Do you see what I'm trying to tell you? People said that it was a cry for help. A lot of people said, no, he was just playing around. When you add in this evidence, and again, I'm not going to get into any theories, but when you add in this evidence, there's just something going on. You guys, again, the Los Angeles coroner said in cases where the case of death cannot be determined at the time of autopsy, again, if it was a drowning, they will be able to determine that. A deferred certificate will be issued until additional studies have been completed. An autopsy has been conducted, but examiners are awaiting the results of toxicology reports in order to determine Matthew's exact cause of passing. The medical examiner has issued their official statement. They're planning to use the toxicology reports to determine whether any foreign substances may have contributed to Matthew's passing. However, they know that the water is not the reason. Again, they keep saying no foul play is suspected, but this has just come out. You guys, this is just so sad. Listen, let me know what you think in the comments. This story will be developing over the next coming weeks. Hopefully we can get some answers. But one thing we do know is Matthew will actually be missed. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.